All right. Well, apparently they're here. And according to 7 former members of the Air Force, well, they're not very happy with us. A lot of jaws dropped yesterday at the Washington Press Club. A group of Air Force veterans, 6 of them former officers, talking about UFO sightings through the 60s, 70s, and the 80s. They're actually convinced that extraterrestrials have been visiting our nuclear facilities and even, well, deactivated some missiles at a base in Montana in 1967.
I believe, these gentlemen believe, that this planet is being visited by beings from another world who, for whatever reason, have taken an interest in the nuclear arms race which began at the end of World War II. Regarding the missile shutdown incidents, my opinion, their opinion, is that whoever are aboard these craft are sending a signal to both Washington and Moscow, among others, that we are playing with fire, that the possession and threatened use of nuclear weapons potentially threatens the human race and the integrity of the planetary environment.
Well, if extraterrestrials do make a public appearance on this planet, the UN apparently wants to be prepared. So they're set to appoint Mazlan Othman, an astrophysicist from Malaysia, to coordinate mankind's response when they arrive. Now, Rob Marciano is always monitoring the NASA video coordinations,
I'm happy to know that.
And I just want to know, are you ready for this as well? And have you, spotted any evidence of this, Rob?
No, I haven't. I'm always on a look for green men, especially the little ones that might help us out. I'm glad that they were actually on a kind of a peace mission. They want us to get rid of the nukes.
Maybe that's the way we deal with Kim Jong-il.
Not a bad call.
Yeah. Okay.
And just, if you're listening, next visit, drop us off a couple of new radars. That's always helpful here in the weather department.
Did UFOs scout U.S. military bases for nuclear weapons and tamper with missiles? That's what dozens of former U.S. military service members say they think they saw. Health and Science editor John Fowler has details and the response from skeptics.
All the UFO sightings were at nuclear weapons facilities, including Minuteman missile silos in Montana. Witnesses said there were multiple missile failures as an unusual object hovered above.
It seemed to have pulsating lights going around it, and it had a white light from the center looking down into the silo.
7 former U.S. servicemen delivered sworn affidavits to the press club about close encounters.
Off through the forest was a bright, glowing object. The best way I can describe it, it looked like an eye. It was bright red with a dark center. It appeared to be winking.
Organizers say 120 now retired servicemen reported similar occurrences from the 1960s until as recently as 2007. Some believe UFOs highlighted nuclear weapons as some sort of warning.
The cover-up of the fact that UFOs did intercede with our nuclear weapons is extremely important.
Is there a government UFO cover-up?
If there is, I'm part of it. No, there's no cover-up. I would certainly know about it.
UC Berkeley physicist Richard Muller served as one of the nation's top advisors on nuclear secrets. He thinks the servicemen simply saw things in the sky they didn't understand.
Because the paradigm of the era was that things you don't understand are flying saucers, that's how they reported them.
Declassified documents indicate Air Force investigators could not explain the missile failures, but did dismiss so-called rumors of UFOs. Health and Science editor John Fowler, KTVU, Channel 2 News.
Well, a group of retired Air Force officers now going public, telling of UFO sightings at nuclear missile defense bases all across the country. The ex-military commanders say the UFOs even messed with the weapons and in some cases deactivating missiles. Robert Salas, former missile launch officer who saw the phenomenon firsthand, and Robert Hastings, UFO researcher who convened the gathering. They both join us now on the telephone. Mr. Salas, first with you. You saw this large, glowing, red, pulsating oval shape hovering near the front gate. What did it do to the nuclear missiles?
Well, first of all, I want to correct you. I was underground at the time of the incident. I was 60 feet underground in a capsule. We have security guards upstairs, of course, protecting the area. And, they told me that it looked like a oval-shaped red object pulsating. He had a hard time discerning the detail of it. But
what did it do to the nukes?
What happened was, as this was being reported, or shortly thereafter, my nuclear missiles went no-go or disabled.
Right. But has that ever happened before under different circumstances?
It happened, as I later found out, about a week earlier on March 16th, 1967.
Yeah.
Not the same launch control center. It was called Echo Flight, which is some 40 miles to the northwest of where Oscar Flight is.
We're short on time, so forgive me for being brief. Mr. Hastings, let me go to you. You're a researcher. You said that you believe visitors from outer space have come here.
I've interviewed over 120 former and retired Air Force personnel who were involved in nuclear weapons-related UFO incidents, some of which involved missiles malfunctioning when the objects were present. The technology that's been reported and also tracked on radar involves craft that are capable of flying thousands of miles per hour.
Listen, I got to cut to the chase here, but you say you think they're fixated on our nuclear weapons because they think we should disarm ourselves before we destroy ourselves. Look, if they're smart enough and clever enough to come here, aren't they smart enough and clever enough to directly communicate with us?
No, I mean that's
no?
That's an illogical leap of judgment.
It seems eminently logical to me.
No, well, then you haven't explored all the scenarios. If you're going to encounter another life form, you would engage in a slow kind of ongoing, increasing the ante kind of contact. You wouldn't fly in the face of whoever you're visiting in one fell swoop. I think what's going on is an observation process, but during the Cold War with the nukes, there was a situation where there was potentially dire consequences, and they intervened both here and the former Soviet Union to interfere with nuclear weapons.
Mr. Hastings, for years the Air Force had the Blue Book investigation project. They eventually abandoned it because, in their words, no extraterrestrials could ever be identified. Now, you think they're lying?
That was a cover story. The investigations that were conducted into these very sensitive national security cases were conducted by the Office of Special Investigation, as Mr. Salas can tell you. None of that was ever admitted. It came out only under the Freedom of Information Act.
All right, Mr. Hastings, Mr. Salas, thank you very much for being with us. Forgive my skepticism, but I'm a reporter. I'm sort of trained to be skeptical. Thanks.
I guess we should mention no aliens were available for the interview. To show the other
we tried
side.
to reach E.T., but he didn't phone us.
We're just trying. Hey, we wanted to share the story. It was, it was out there. So we decided to share it with you. All right.
Well, researchers are today unveiling a new report compiled from interviews with U.S. military pilots. Interviews which raise questions of alien life spying on our nuclear weapons facilities. Trace Gallagher, this sounds like a joke.
I think you're the one that coined it best, Megan. You said, look, it's not like this is some out-of-the-way person who just stumbled upon USOs. These are high-ranking members of the military, which is what makes the story so captivating for me. And they are today going before the National Press Club in Washington to lay out their case. We're talking about 6 former airmen, as well as another man who interviewed another 120 additional airmen who say the U.S. is holding secrets back about UFOs. They say they have the evidence that UFOs both in Britain as well as in this country have hovered over nuclear sites and actually turned off the weapons, shut down the weapons. And they believe that the U.S. and the British governments have more, and they're going to go before the press today and ask the government to open up these files, right? It's the X-Files thing. It's get David Duchovny out here. Let's talk to him. A Captain Robert Salas, right, says the U.S. is lying about it, and he says, Megan, that he can prove this, and I'm quoting here. Captain Salas says that in 1967 at Malmstrom Air Base in Montana, that he says, I was on duty when an object came over and hovered directly over the site. The missiles shut down. 10 Minutemen missiles. And the same thing happened at another site a week later. There is a strong interest in our missiles by these objects, wherever they come from. He goes on to say, I personally think they are not from the planet Earth. They'll lay their case out today. Do they have the proof? We'll find out. But coincidentally, the UN has now assigned an alien ambassador to be the first to greet the aliens when they come here. Coincidence?
No, it has not.
It has. It has. The United Nations has a I forget the actual title. It's an alien ambassador to greet aliens when we find them and to be the first ones to discover them.
Do we have an alien greeter czar yet?
No, but but David Duchovny, who's out of work now because his show got canceled, is apparently vying for that position.
He'd be great. Thanks, Trace.
He would be great. It's true.
Are aliens from outer space visiting U.S. nuclear missile sites? It's no laughing matter to a group of former Air Force vets. They're revealing what they say has been a secret for years. Fox 5's Tom Fitzgerald tells us some may say their claims are a little out of this world, but these veterans say they have the evidence to back it up.
At first glance, they could be any group of retired military veterans.
I was a missile launch officer,
communication electronics officer,
a combat missile targeting team commander.
But besides their service in the Air Force, these men share something else.
A white pulsating light in the sky.
Dark, metallic in appearance with strange markings.
Stories that sound out of this world.
A fully illuminated round object was hovering silently over the missile silo and shining a light down onto it.
And then from this dead stop, it shoots off to the east, just like now you see it, now you don't.
Flying saucers, aliens, visitors, whatever they're called, these 7 Air Force nuclear missile veterans claim to have seen UFOs over 1960s nuclear missile sites that they say briefly shut the facilities down when the UFOs were there.
This planet is being visited by beings from another world.
Sound far-fetched? Well, the group produced old Air Force documents recounting reports of flying discs, flying saucers, and balls of fire, the same type Robert Salas says he saw while stationed at Montana's Malmstrom Air Force Base in 1967.
An object, a red glowing object hovering just above our front gate.
But while interest in aliens from other planets visiting Earth is nothing new, critics say government efforts to look into reported alien sightings are very old and have never found concrete proof.
At this point in time, I'm a debunker.
Roger Lanius, senior curator at the National Air and Space Museum, says he's questioned UFO conspiracy theorists for years and has come away a non-believer.
I always probe pretty hard. What kinds of evidence do you have to support this? I have yet to see any.
But these veterans insist they have actually seen the proof with their own eyes, even if they can't say for sure who or what may actually be out there.
Your guess is as good as mine, and I can't answer that question.
In Washington, Tom Fitzgerald, Fox 5 News.
Now, we contacted the U.S. Air Force's Office of Special Investigations headquarters at Andrews Air Force Base. A spokesperson told us they received plenty of questions about those veterans' claims, but they're not aware of any open case on UFOs or alien sightings at nuclear missile ranges.